The Albanese government will introduce new legislation to Parliament today to scrap the cashless welfare debit card. The move will allow more than 17,000 welfare recipients to be transitioned off the card by September. As part of the program, up to 80% of a recipient's welfare was placed on the card, which could only be used for essential items at certain stores. Phasing out the card is expected to save the government over $285 million over the next 4 years. Joining me live is the Nationals MP Keith Pitt. Keith Pitt, thanks so much for your time. You've got one of the biggest trials of this card in your electorate. Is this a good move or not?
Good morning, Laura. And we've got about 6,000 trial participants. And just to point out one fact, the card can be used at any store. It just can't be used to buy alcohol, gambling, and of course it reduces the amount of cash available for the purchase of illicit substances. It's strongly supported in our communities. In fact, the 4 MPs who have the trial sites were all returned without too many challenges whatsoever, and Labor's plan is to take it away and replace it with nothing.
OK, well, be honest, what have the problems been? What are the drawbacks? What needs to improve?
Oh, well, you can always improve. We've had a community reference group in place in all of the trial sites. Labor's consultation on this was to come to the community reference group a couple of weeks ago to say they've made this decision and this is what they're doing after some very hard work over a number of years. I mean, if you look at the results, we have been unable in Queensland in particular to get any data out of the state Labor government. They simply won't provide it. But we had a school principal come to the community reference group and tell us that they saw their breakfast club numbers halve and the number of kids doing extracurricular activities outside school which required payment double. Now, that will do me. These are good outcomes. We've got 30 million the Coalition committed into the trial sites to help with additional services. No one said what's happened to that either.
OK, so this Labor has vowed to scrap it. Indeed, legislation is being introduced to do exactly that. What do you think the consequences of that will be in your electorate?
Well, you've seen what's happening in the Northern Territory right now. They want those prohibitions in the Territory to stay because they know what happens at a social level. It's made significant changes in my electorate. We've got kids now getting the basics and the essentials. I mean, in places like Ceduna, which is the longest running trial site, is my understanding, in Rowan Ramsey's area, I mean, he was returned with a 70% vote. We will see a breakdown in society again in a number of those places. My trial is very different. It's only for those who are 35 and under on 4 particular payments. But rent rolls are up. They're getting the basics of life to our kids in particular, and the intention to replace it with absolutely nothing at all. Our communities just want change. They want them to be better. They understand these are tough but necessary policies. They're not silver bullets. But the alternative being put forward by the Labor Party is simply they just don't care. This is idealism winning over realism once again, and it's the people of Sydney and Melbourne, those in the Socialist Alliance in particular, overruling communities that want this to continue.
But you're not willing to talk about the unintended consequences, perhaps. There has been some of those. Some people have been stigmatised, haven't they?
Well, the card looks like any other debit card. It works like every other debit card. I don't know too many operators at the fish and chip shop that look at the colour of the card that you might wave over the EFTPOS machine to pay for your food. And I mean, there's a lot of claims, but there is a lot of people for whom it has absolutely helped. Their savings are much higher. They've had the ability to do things like buy a car, for example, which had never happened before. I've had so many people, Laura, come to me telling me to stick with this. We know it's hard. We know you know, locally you're copping it, but it's made a big difference for their families, particularly whether it's their grandkids or their nieces or nephews. And to replace it with nothing without consultation is wrong.
But how does this fit in with the principles of freedom and the individual and taking control over your own life?
Well, it's an 80-20 split. You have 20% available of your taxpayer-funded support that you can spend on alcohol if you want to, right? There's no one's banning you from doing that. And the idea that you need to do that, I just think is wrong. The taxpayer provides support at a time where people desperately need it. It is strongly supported in the community. And to have an alternative where we simply don't do anything about these challenges, well, what is the purpose of the Labor Albanese government? OK,
before I let you go, Keith Pitt, we'll be talking to Peter V'landys in about 10 minutes' time. The NRL is now considering a Pride round. You're a football fan. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm actually co-chair of the Friends of Rugby League here with Matt Thistlethwaite. I'm a fan of the game. I mean, I just want to see people play football. They should leave their social issues and protests and everything else on the sideline. Manly, my understanding, I'm not a Manly fan, is they're on the verge of cracking the 8. And this decision now means that their sponsors and fans and supporters could well see them lose a game on the weekend. That means they miss finals football. So I just want sport to be sport, not an area for protests. How about we just get on with playing football and allow the best athletes in the country to do what they're good at?
So you think those 7 players in Manly who don't want to play in the Pride jersey should have just put their feelings aside and just cracked on and played tomorrow night?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is I don't think that elite sports should just get involved in social issues when their job is to play football. I don't think that we need this in sport. I don't think we need it in rugby league. How about they just run out onto the field and play the best game they possibly can? As many people as possible get to watch them, and we all celebrate what is a fantastic game. Getting bogged down in social challenges around the country because they've got a billboard they can run around with. I just think it's a mistake, and I think Manly's going to pay the price.
Well, there's an Indigenous round in the AFL and the NRL. Why not have a Pride round?
Well, I mean, that's just not the point I'm making at all. The individuals are entitled to have this view. Why get yourself into a position where you're going to cost your football club a place in the semi-finals simply because you want to put a rainbow on your jersey? I just don't think it's the purpose of elite sport in particular. People are entitled to their views as individuals, and they'll make those decisions. But I think Manly's made a mistake.
So just going back to this Pride round issue, what do you think? Would you support it if there was a Pride round instituted by the NRL?
Well, that's something they'll have to consult with players, with fans, with sponsors, with everyone else before they make these decisions. But what's very clear right now is they didn't consult the players. The players don't agree, and they are absolutely entitled to make that choice, Laura. But I just want sport to be sport. I'm tired of seeing things be politicised through our elite athletes. Let them do what they're good at. And I almost said something I shouldn't have then, Laura. And let them get out on the field, entertain the fans. Let's see them out there winning the NRL competition because that's what we want to watch.
Okay. Keith Pitt, thank you.